it was funny because I was in the room yesterday and we were talking about it, and I said, like, the whole point of the push out rule is to reward the wrestler, that's pushing the guy out, right? And to basically what's the word? To penalize the guy that's not fighting in. That's why you get a point. So now why are we giving 2 points for that? Like,
Yeah.
the 1 point is not enough. Like, you're basically giving a takedown. It's becoming sumo wrestling in a way. Because, like, so, I hate it. And then on top of that, it's like, but if you push me to the edge, right, and I drop down on my knees and then you push me out on my knees, I'm not trying to wrestle you either, but I don't get any points for doing that if I'm the offensive
Yeah.
guy. Right. So it's kind of, they got to figure some stuff out. I mean, who knows if they will, but
I don't remember there being a
yeah,
lot of
it's
issues
tough.
of like I don't know what this rule is solving for. Like I don't remember too many instances of guys running off the mat like that. I mean, maybe there was one or two, but like I don't like I get they're trying to say, hey, you can't back straight out, but again, I'm like, I don't remember that being a big issue.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think it's even worse when it happens at the end of matches.
Oh,
Like, I mean, Bartlett Lee was
it's
tough
a
to watch.
joke, bro. That's a joke. That's
It
a
was
total
tough to
joke.
watch. I mean, I had no favoritism toward either wrestler. I was, excited. You had a Penn State matchup, and obviously like a, past versus
Yeah.
present, and I just thought, man, Bartlett should have won that match. Like, he has the right. He's winning 10-8, right? And there's 5 seconds left. Of course, he's not going to want to wrestle. Like, he doesn't have to. He wrestled for 5 minutes and 55 seconds, So for them to go caution and one on top of that, and he loses off of that, was just like, oh, come on. Like,
Like
that's gotta change.
if he can back away without going out of the circle, that should be part of the rules, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
if you can be defensive and stay in bounds, like it's just oh my god. And the problem with it is I don't know what it was like at the Euros, like if you're seeing it that much, or if this is just American refs going a little crazy with it. But to me, it just opens up a lot of judgment, ambiguity,
Yeah.
scandal. Like it doesn't
Oh,
bode
yeah.
well. It's not it's to me like we should take less away from the refs. And it's not that it's the refs are bad people that they're probably confused themselves on how to
Yeah. It's just,
apply the
it's human
rules.
error. It's human
Right.
error, right? Like, the more you have a rule set and the more you can follow, like, truly follow a book or something that's like pre-written, it's objective. But then as soon as it becomes up to the ref's discretion, it's subjective.
Yeah.
And, like, since when do we want things to be more subjective than objective in any area, right? I mean,
Couldn't agree
especially in
more.
sport. So yeah, I think that's tough. And also, I would say the other thing that's tough is like the passivity, that the way that they're calling passivity is really tough to figure out. It's like,
Doesn't make any
so you
sense.
call passivity with, I saw it in a lot of matches. Obviously, there's a few that hit
Uh,
closer to home than others.
we're thinking ringer. We're thinking ringer.
Yeah, right. But I would say I did see in other matches where it's not even the other wrestler's fault, but you call somebody for passive, right? In the second period, and that person goes on the clock. By the time the clock runs out, there's probably a minute left. They're not going to call the other guy for passive, even though he's not planning to wrestle for the next minute because he's probably winning at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And rightfully so, right? That guy, if I'm that guy, well, why am I going to go score? You're not going to get put on the clock, most likely. And they might, like, what I've been seeing a lot is like they just stop the match, right? And they say, hey, Blue, like, but then they don't do anything about it, right? Like, and so
There's a
it's just
lot
kind
of
of,
stopping the matches too.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not on any committees or anything
Right.
like that. I'm just an athlete. So actually what I have to do is I got to study and kind of see how they're calling things and adjust and plan accordingly. That's just really all I can do at this
Did you
point.
did you see any of the caution ones at the Europeans or not as many?
No, not nearly as many. I thought that was strictly a kind of a US thing. Like, I haven't seen that really in any other tournament that I've been in.
Yeah. And then and this is just more general curiosity. When in the first period, and this first person goes on the shot clock, is that based on like our concept of stalling and not stalling, or is it just totally random?
So I think they put a huge emphasis on who's controlling the center.
Mm.
And that's something that we're not used to in the US, but it's kind of what I think almost foreigners have an advantage on because they understand that rule a little bit more properly. So yeah, I mean, I think they basically look at the first 30 seconds to a minute. who's controlling that inner circle, right? And if somebody's circling around that, right, and kind of playing the outside zone, then they're most likely going to get put on the clock first. Even like it happened to me at the Europeans where I was literally finishing taking a shot, but since that guy was just controlling the center, I got put on the clock. And I'd probably taken 3 shots, 3 real attempts where that guy hadn't taken any yet, but he was just doing a good job, keeping his weight or keeping his pressure into me while I was taking those shots. So
see, that's what I'm saying. Like the shot taking in a folk style match, you see someone take 3 shots, someone takes none. The person shooting is not the one defensive in that scenario. But it makes sense though. If the rule is, say, controlling center, that's the rule. And I feared that, like a lot of Americans, including myself, you watch some of the people who go on the shot clock. It's not a huge deal because it's only a point, but it's also just a little confusing how they pick who goes on it.
Yeah, and it's very rare that they put a guy on it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you see it happen in the first period, and it's almost like you don't want to be the guy, or you want to be the guy that gets put on it first, because as long as you're staying in the fight, like, at some capacity, the most likely the other guy is going to go on it in the second period. Right. And you could win a match based off of, 1-1 off of passivity, which, yeah. And it's to me, it's crazy, but it is what it is.
What happened? So what was the situation in the Derringer match? They both had a takedown and he got put on the clock late. And that was the end of it, basically.
Yeah. Both had a takedown. Ringer had the last takedown closing out the period in the first period, which I think that has some relevance to it, right? He was the last real like aggressor and finisher. And then he Chance did a good job of, kind of controlling the center at some point. But what was interesting to me is if you go back and watch the match, Alex actually does a great job of circling back center while they go to put him on the clock. Like, wow. So as they put him on the clock, he's actually the one in the center, like, which to me, it's just like, you're telling him like they do this right here, like the little hand wave, like, okay, action blue, zone blue. And then if most of the time, if you do your job, you're still going to get put on the clock. It's almost like their mind's made up before they even, after that hand waves, it's like, it's over. And that's what happened to him, in my opinion. And it's like, I just would have personally liked to see, I don't think it's either wrestler's fault. I would just like to see them duke it out, right? And have the wrestlers decide the match. That's because what ended up happening, like I said, was after that point was called, it just flipped who was being more passive, because now Chance has no reason to wrestle. He's like, all right, well, now I'm up by a point and I'm not going to get put on a clock because there's only 40, 50 seconds left. And so I can run away for the next, 50 seconds.
Yeah. I know it's like you said, it's not any wrestler's fault. And I don't even like blaming the refs, because the refs are in a really tough spot. They're doing it out of a passion project a lot of times. We have a shortage of refs, certainly in Illinois. And so I'm not ref bashing. I'm more so bashing whoever came up with this new rule, and the application of the caution one is just, it's tough to watch. And I don't really get it. It's not all the time, but you did see some egregious ones. And we've kind of hit on them, but I was more so just curious on your thoughts on if you're seeing this in Europe or if it's just in America, because you get a lot of exposure to what's going on overseas.
Yeah, I really didn't see it. The only time you'll ever really see a caution one, I feel like they give it as more of a consolation point, is like towards the end of a match, if you're up by like 3 or 4 points and you're just evading wrestling completely, like a guy's pushing you all over the place, they might throw up a caution one. But I haven't seen it to where they've done it and it's decided a match. It's more so been like, all right, you're controlling a steady lead, and the ref's like, all right, well, this guy's just running away at this point. I'll give a caution one because I know it's not necessarily going to dictate the match, but like it might force him to stay in the fight a little bit more.